Hi friends, welcome to part 4 of requested receipt date and ship date calculations. In this video, we will discuss in detail about how do we calculate the requested receipt date and ship dates in the past and what are all the related configurations to control the behavior. And also we will try to understand a specific scenario related to direct delivery orders because whatever the scenarios we have seen so far are related to their traditional purchase order. And in case of direct delivery orders, you will not be allowed to edit the receipt date and ship dates in the purchase order. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel D365 Talks or follow my profile in LinkedIn. With that note, let's quickly jump into today's topic. So I will skip the slides which we have already discussed. So agenda, we were going through the definition of what is exactly a requested receipt date and ship date and how these calculations are primarily governed by the calendars. So make sure that you watch part 1, 2, and 3 before coming into part 4, which is very important. But in this particular video, we will be discussing about a couple of scenarios. There are from various forms which we can primarily create a purchase order. But in this scenario, in this particular video, we want to discuss about how do we create these requested receipt dates and the ship dates, especially in the past date compared to the current system running date. And second scenario is we will try to create a purchase order using the direct delivery functionality in Dynamics 365. And rest all cases, I would say it's more of the same thing. So I will not primarily try to repeat it. But I'll also strongly recommend you to try out the intercompany order scenario, because in case of the intercompany orders, you need to enable the parameter of supplier ship date and receipt date confirmations in both the legal entities. Otherwise, you will not be able to use this functionality. So having said that, first of all, let me quickly jump into the scenario 1, where we will be primarily trying to create a ship date in the past. Let me go to the Dynamics 365 screen. So let me quickly kind of refresh the configurations. If I go to procurement sourcing product information management, and then release products. So this was the item which we were using, 1000 and Surface Pro 128 GB laptop. Then the default order settings, let me check what is the lead time. So this is the lead time, purchase lead time is given as 3 days. And I have just removed all the calendars, so we do not need to worry about what is the working day or the operating day in this case. So we have just configured the purchase lead time, and then also we have just configured the transport days in the last video itself. So if I go to procurement sourcing module setup, then distribution purchase transport days, we have also configured the purchase transport days. The transport days is also by default it is 3 days, and then we have not enabled any of them as a default mode of delivery, right? So let me keep this as such, and let me go to the purchase order form, and then I'll create a purchase order, right? So what we are trying to check here is, even in the doc, I'll also show in the Microsoft doc which we have. So you will be able to primarily define the receipt dates or the ship dates which can be in the past. So the system might calculate as requested ship date that is in the past. So when primarily these kind of calculations happens is, let's say you know that generally from a vendor the lead time for delivery of the material is primarily 6 days. But for some urgent orders, you want the vendor to deliver the material in 2 days, or let's say you are going to change the mode of delivery, default mode of delivery from rail to air, so that you receive the material on the same day, right? So in maybe because of so and so reasons, when you update the receipt date, it triggers a backward calculation to update your ship date also. So in this case, if we go through the stock, it is also clearly mentioned that so the recalculation for updated orders happens if you make a changes to the ship date, it makes updates to the receipt date also. So if you make changes to the receipt date, it makes updates to the ship date also. So the forward and backward calculation happens based on the calendars and the transport days and whatever the configurations which you have. So right, so because of these reasons, if you have given the lead time on transport days, which leads to a backward calculation of getting into a date which falls in the past compared to the today's date or the system running date, then that is called as a past date, right? So that's what we are primarily trying to see here. And so that is actually referred to as specify whether the requested ship dates can be in the past or not. And this is also parameterized. Also, let me show you where it is. But this is available only if we enable the supply requested ship date and receipt date calculations. You go to delivery section, and so once if you enable the requested and confirmed ship dates, only if this is enabled, you will have this drop down, and here you can define whether you want to allow with warning. Even if the date is in the past, you want to allow that, or you do not want to allow that, then disallow with a warning, then users will not be able to proceed. Or if you select as none, even though the date is calculated with a backward calculation and it goes beyond the current running date, then in those cases still the system will allow you to confirm the purchase order. And you can control the behavior in the procurement sourcing parameter. Let's say here I have just given us allow with warning, and so with that I'll go and create a purchase order. So the moment I create a purchase order, I will also make sure that we have the appropriate date. Let's say in this case the current system date is 23/6/2025, which is taken as the ship date, and receipt date is primarily based on the vendor account and the to address, which is primarily based on which it has fetched the 3 days. So let me click on OK, and then let me add the item number. So if I now go get into the delivery section, let's say now if you see based on the calculation what we have, so still it has taken receipt date as 26. So 26 is the ship date, and from 26 primarily it has calculated another 4 days for the transport days, because 3 days is the lead time. Current system date is 23. From 23 it has taken 3 days, which is 26. 26 is the ship date for the vendor, and from 26, once the vendor ship the material, it will take 4 more days to receive the material in our warehouse. So that's why it has suggested as 36. But let's say if for some reason I want the material to be received on 25th itself, I'm directly updating the date over here, and I've just changed the mode of delivery to, let's say, air. And because of that, even though I'm processing the material on 23rd June, I'll be able to receive the material on 25th itself. So moment if I update 25, it triggers a backward calculation to update the ship date, right? So in this case, it actually falls on the date, which is yesterday's date, 22/6/2025, and that's why we got a warning on the top, like the order line Surface Pro, the requested ship date is before today. So which means the ship date is falling before to today's date, and do you want to proceed or not? In this case, we have actually configured it as a warning, and still the system will allow us to close this warning message and save the purchase order. And but if you're making this as a, let us try to confirm this purchase order, then see. But if you are making this as disallow with warning, then you will not be able to confirm the purchase order itself. And I hope the purchase order will be confirmed, but let's see. But the only thing which we need to note here is the receipt date update causes a backward calculation of ship date updates, and even if you make any changes to the ship date, it does a forward calculation, and then it causes a it triggers a recalculation of the receipt date, similar to confirm ship date and receipt date also. That's what we have seen in the doc, and we are able to confirm the purchase order right now. Even though the ship date is in the past, still we are able to confirm the purchase order. So I hope that scenario 1 is clear. So the next one which we want to primarily check is for the direct delivery orders, because in case of the direct delivery orders, user will not be able to make any changes to the receipt date and the ship dates, because those are primarily controlled by the receipt and the ship dates in the sales order. If you do not know what is a direct delivery order, probably you need to check out the playlist of procurement and sourcing in this channel. And then also I have made a detailed video about what is a direct delivery. Probably I'll also share the link to that video in this video's description. Right. So first of all, so primarily what I'm trying to say is I'm not going to talk in detail about the direct delivery orders, but instead I'm going to directly create it. We'll continue to focus on the requested receipt date and ship date. So let's say, but before creating a direct delivery order, let me check the item. I'm not sure what is the vendor that is assigned as a default vendor option for direct delivery. Let me check that. If I go to release products, then this is the item which we were using, and let me check if there are no default vendors which are assigned. Let me assign that as Acme Office Supply. Yeah, that is Acme Office Supply. Then delivery. No, it is not by default enabled as direct delivery, but that's fine. I'll continue to create a direct delivery from the sales order itself. So if I go to sales and marketing, all sales order, then let me click on new, and there's one more point which we need to check, because in this case the delivery is directly routed to the customer and it is not going via Contoso Entertainment. So in this case the address of the vendor and the customer has to match in order to calculate the transport days, otherwise system will not be able to calculate the transport days, right? So we need to check the, let's say Contoso Retail San Diego is the customer which we want to proceed. Then in that case it actually belongs to address of San Diego CA. So first of all, we need to create a transport days for this particular configuration. If I get into procurement sourcing module and then purchase transport days, first this was the previous transport days which we created for the supply of materials from Acme Office Supplies to Contoso Entertainment System. Now we are not taking the material to Contoso Entertainment System, but instead the Acme Office Supplies is going to directly supply the material to the Contoso Retail Santiago. So let me click on new. Then USA shipping status Texas. There is no change of that, but with the receiving address it is going to be a change. And then let me put the transport days as 7 days, right? Then I will save this. We go back. So we have created a transport days, because if the system does not find a corresponding match, then it will not calculate any transport days to update your receipt dates. So let me go back to the sales order, sales and marketing, then all sales orders. Now I'll create a sales order from the sales order page, and then I'll create a direct delivery order from this form. Discount Retail San Diego. Site and warehouse are not mandatory, but let me capture that. So now what I'll do is I'll add this item which we know, and if I get into delivery section, also one thing which we need to note is the delivery date control is not necessarily required in this case, because you can just update it as none. And also let me save this. So as of now the delivery date is still getting updated. It's not based on the direct delivery order, because still we have not created the direct delivery chain, and it is purely based on delivery from Contoso Entertainment System to the customer Retail San Diego. Now let me try to create a direct delivery chain, and then let's see what changes it causes to the delivery dates. So this is the vendor account which we added in the release products, and then I will include that line, then I will click on OK. So this will create a purchase order automatically, and we already discussed about this in the procurement sourcing module. So in that playlist we already discussed about that, but here also you can see that it triggers for an warning. The requested ship date is before today, because we have given a transport days intentionally as 7 days, and you can see the receipt date is still 24, but it has caused a backward calculation of 7 days, which will lead to 17/6, so which is before to today's date, which is 23/6. So that's why we are getting a warning message. But let's say we will continue to save the order, but and then we will navigate to the purchase order from this form itself. If you go to general and then click on purchase order, then in the purchase order also you can view 17 and 24 as the appropriate dates. If I get into general section, then if I click on edit, so here I will not be able to edit the ship date and receipt date, but instead it just copied the information from the sales order, because the vendor is Acme Office Supply is directly going to deliver the material to the address of customer, which is San Diego CA USA. So that's about the second scenario. So primarily, whatever the date you have configured in the sales order, if it is a direct delivery, then the appropriate dates will be recalculated based on whatever the transportation days or the lead time which you have given in the configurations, right? So similarly, the intercompany orders also works, but like I said, in both the intercompanies in the legal entity, let's say if you are creating intercompany chain between USMF and DEMF, then in both the legal entities you need to enable the parameter supplier, the parameter what we have seen in the procurement sourcing parameter, the supplier confirmed requested and confirmed ship dates. Otherwise this calculation will not work. So you need to enable this in both the legal entities. So that is something which is important to consider. So let me go back to the slide. You can also create purchase orders from multiple forms, and the behavior is going to be the same, but make sure that you configure the respective settings what we have discussed in all the 4 parts of this series, and based on which you will be able to try out the various scenarios. I'll strongly recommend you to try out the scenarios related to the planned purchase orders, direct delivery orders, and intercompany orders, because those are something complex for you to explore. And all these are related to the configurations what we have discussed, like you change the mode of delivery, you change the transport days, modify the vendor ship calendar working days, and based on which you get the appropriate receipt date and ship dates. And it will really help if you are working as a user or if you are working as a functional consultant. So with that, make sure you subscribe to the channel D3 Straight Talks or follow my profile in LinkedIn. See you soon in another interesting topic. Thank you.